You okay? Everybody make it through the day?
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
You know, judging by the way they reacted in Philadelphia, I think they're still tearing that place up. It kind of meant something to them, barbarians that they are. Welcome in. Look, I had no team in this game. I'm just embarrassed by the giant commercial. We won 2 games. What are we doing celebrating ourselves in any way, shape, or form? I was embarrassing, but you know, I defer to Gresh on most of this stuff anyway. Great to have you in. Due to some production issues today and the interest in the Super Bowl, that's our whole conversation. Yes, the memo in Washington will be a subject for this week, no doubt. And I just left because we tape early in the afternoon each weekday for your viewing pleasure at 7:30 on MyRI TV and Fox Providence at midnight. A really poignant press conference on the east side, actually, well, in the city of Providence. The NAACP head was targeted for some, I don't know, attacks on a flyer, and it's kind of hard to follow, but I was at this event today, and we'll certainly have some coverage on the radio over the course of the week, tomorrow, and here on My State of Mind. It's just not, it's ugly stuff, but so too was the football game on a whole different level, no doubt. Here's the headline. For the birds, very creative. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of that kind of stuff. I should have grabbed the New York Post headline or the Daily News. Best commercial from the Giants. Oh yeah, by the way, the Patriots lost to the Eagles. They're very good. It's really interesting headline.
Can I tell you how terrible it was in New York and how disgraceful it was that the Empire State Building lit up in green right after the Eagles won the Super Bowl and left it until morning?
No, they didn't.
Oh, yes, they did. Oh, it's out there. It's real. Just like that memo. It's very real and it ain't going away. New York fans were not happy on Twitter last night.
What is that all about?
I don't know.
We
well,
have no,
we have
no interest in this.
None.
The NFC East a little bit. I was kind of like, you know, the underdog Eagles.
No self-respecting Giant fan.
You
roots
can't
for
go
the
there.
Eagles.
You can't go there.
It's like a Southerner eating instant grits.
Yeah, thank you. And look, you know, most of my family are Patriots fans, and so I want them to be happy. So I know they're disappointed. What do you really think?
People are not devastated.
Yeah. So there's no opposite equity between the jubilance of the city of Philadelphia and Patriot Nation.
And it's interesting because, look, there's a ton of storylines to talk about. Malcolm Butler's a big part of it as well. But I think Brady's legacy stays intact even though they lose. I mean, he's a guy who won a Super Bowl throwing for 145 yards, and he lost the Super Bowl throwing for 503 touchdowns. So I think from the fan connection standpoint, there's that. And look, every coach at some point catches heat from the fan base, and Belichick will have that really in the offseason. But I don't sense devastation. I really don't. I think people have kind of, you know, look, I didn't have to do 3 hours on the radio afterwards trying to talk to the drunk and the, you know, and the despondent. So for me, it was a hell of a lot easier. But I'm not saying that people have taken it in stride, but pretty measured approach to this, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go from the game-winning play thing, the strip sack. And again, I apologize. We don't have a lot. We have copyright restrictions on video, and then that's a whole mess in and of itself. But we have some headlines and some pictures, and most of you have seen this. Unlike any other game, most of you know what's going on here. You know, that's the kind of thing Giant fans and other fans fear most, and that is, okay, 2.5 to go. You know, anytime Eli will go back off shotgun or off the snap under pressure, my first thing is, don't get hit, 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 don't lose the ball, forget the accomplishment of moving the football up with completed passes.
Right.
It's like, don't get hit, don't get hit, don't get hit.
You think of the negative.
So when that ball got knocked out of Brady's hands, I yelped, went, oh my God. Never considered that as a potential outcome. I thought he was going to chew him up and spit him out.
When we did New England Nation, one of the 3 players that I highlighted for the Patriots was Shaq Mason, who was the right guard that got beat on that play. Because Shaq Mason is a road grader in the run game, but in the passing game, he's a little iffy. So to me, those were the targets. It wasn't go after the tackles. It was go after the guards. And what you see is, the closer you get to Brady, the better the chance you have to make something happen. That's a great play from Brandon Graham. And he didn't do anything other than just really run Shaq Mason over and get his hand in there. Yeah. And Brady, I haven't gotten to the all 22 of it yet to see why Brady held, and at the last second he went to turn like he was going to throw an outlet pass, but he was waiting for something to develop down the field. That's why it felt like he held that ball an extra second. But look, a second makes a difference in the NFL. That's why the 40 times matter, tenths of seconds matter.
40 times meaning?
Meaning that 40-yard dash, I mean, guys, how fast they run, how quick their burst is, how strong they are, little things like that matter. And you give Philadelphia credit. They won a one-on-one battle in a key point in the game, and I think every Patriot fan who's seen Super Bowls over the years has seen the exact same thing go the other way, where our guys have won one-on-one battles.
Yeah, it's such a great game. It's under a lot of duress, and we should talk about that a little bit, but it's such a great game. This notion that Tom Brady, I guess it's the hyperbole in both directions, right? When you win, there's probably a little too much credit goes to the quarterback, and when you lose, maybe a little too much. I wouldn't call it blame, because I don't think anybody's blaming him. I mean,
he was the reason they were in the game. But
right.
To your point, again, go back to the first Super Bowl. Throws 145, throws for 145, and wins an MVP. Like, that doesn't happen, because it was, quarterback drove ball downfield, set up kicker, kick field goal. Well, quarterback must be the most important guy. And that's to your point. That's why I think today Brady's performance has kind of cushioned the blow a little bit. A lot of this is really where the organization is going forward. The Malcolm Butler people are going to be, wound up like a watch.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Malcolm Butler thing in a second. But I thought watching the show on Channel 12 last night that you participated in. What's it called? Face the Nation? No.
This, isn't it? Isn't this Dan Yorke Face the Nation?
What's it, Patriots Nation?
It's New England Nation.
New England Nation. There you go.
You got to work around all the copyrights, like you said.
You made a phenomenal point about potential outcomes. So we have one, interesting play trying to throw to Brady, and the throw is just a little bit too long. He can't bring it in. And then on 4th down near the goal line, they pull this stunt, the Eagles do, and throw to the quarterback, and Foles, receives a touchdown pass that both you and I could have caught. I mean, I know I could have even caught the thing. Although, that was so wide open. That's one of those things where, oh my God, your career is over if you drop this pass. It was so wide open. But you made a great point about the choice of that play. Had a field goal not been missed, maybe they don't go that route. And so this is, again, the blame go around thing. Oskowski, what did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or what happened?
Well, remember, the field goal was missed because Ryan Allen mishandled the snap. So it started there. I mean, you don't think about holders until they're fumbling the ball in a big spot. The fact that Gostowski hit the upright was pretty amazing. Here's the interesting part about that quarterback throwback. Everybody said, oh, New England did it, so Philly did it. Yeah, okay. But the Patriots rolled that play out against the Eagles 2 years ago, where Brady caught it going down the sideline. Now, the difference is that if you look at the way the Eagles ran it, and I'm still waiting on an official to confirm this for me, that was an illegal formation because there were only 6 guys on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, this is what one of my close associates is texting me.
Yeah,
that's illegal. That's illegal. But I went back and checked the video. I saw 7 men on the line. From the split receivers.
Because the wide receivers were backed off. What happened was when Foles ended up creeping to set himself up as the wing, I think one of those receivers either forgot to move up or he had already pointed to the official. So you watch an NFL game, you'll see wide receivers look to the official on the side and point to him, and the official will go, okay, and they give him the nod because it means they're lined up within the formation and they're okay. Then they shifted, and I don't think the rest of the shift was complete, but with the way Foles sold it exactly the way Brady sold it the first time they ran it, which was Tom just kind of meandering out there. And look, he's athletic, but he's slow. Kind of had to give him the head start a little bit when they ran it a couple years ago. So the one thing you got to do to beat the Patriots is hold the ball, rush the passer, and you got to have chutzpah. And Doug Peterson had big old grapefruits calling that game yesterday.
The head coach. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about the lack of the cornerback. Where the heck was he? And then, of course, what happens next year, which we have to ask 30 seconds after the game ends, right? We'll be right back. All right, so, yep. The Malcolm Butler story, though, is very interesting. A poor kid's crying on the sidelines. Guy, I mean, he's not a kid, but he's a young man still. He's 29, right? Is he 29? I think he's 29.
28, about turned 29, or just turned 29.
Which means he's still ripe in terms of, athletic fertility, correct?
Yeah.
Age-wise?
I think there is he felt misled because he found out right before the game. And look, they're not dumb anymore. These athletes understand the business end of the game, and not playing in a Super Bowl hurts a guy going into free agency.
He had the flu. What kind of year did he have, the cornerback?
It wasn't great. And here's the thing.
A couple interceptions.
I think Bill Belichick became a little disenfranchised with Malcolm Butler along the way because, not to go super technical, but Malcolm Butler is a very specific kind of corner. He's not a big physical guy. He's what we call a trail technique player. So for a lot of people who've watched Patriots games, they've seen what looked like Malcolm Butler running behind a guy, but he's got the ability to knock the ball down. That's kind of his deal. He's a trail player. Whereas you go look at Gilmore and Rowe, they're bigger, they're more stout, and they can be a little more physical with wide receivers when Bill wants them to be. And I think that was a part of it. Danny, look, I combed through the video here, and what they did was they played 3 and 4 safeties a lot of the time. So basically the conscious decision that Bill Belichick made, if you were to believe there was no discipline involved with Butler, is that they pulled him off the field to take either Patrick Chung or Devin McCourty and use them in coverage. And then when they needed a 4th safety, it was Jordan Richards coming into the game, who they used as kind of like a middle linebacker. So really, the root of all of this isn't Malcolm Butler being sat down. It's that they don't have linebackers that are worth a damn on that team without Dante Hightower, and it messes up the front and the back end of the defense. They got caught against a team that knew how to take advantage of them really not having a lot of great linebackers, Kyle Van Noy's the only guy.
The analysts all last night were suggesting that Butler could have made a difference. Do you think so?
Look, they didn't have a pass rush. They never got to Foles. So let's start there.
And I remember you saying on Friday night on your radio show, weeknight 6 to 9 on WPRO, you were saying specifically the key of the game is to get to Foles early, finish him.
Yep.
And you predicted that would finish him.
Yeah, and
they never got to him.
No, and in fact, he got confidence early. Then he hits that deep ball down the sideline in the first quarter, and you're like, okay, they're here to play. And they never rattled Nick Foles at all. So when you look at the defensive breakdowns, you know what they needed in the 4th quarter of that game? Dante Hightower, who's hurt, who got the strip sack on Matt Ryan in Super Bowl 51 last year, and that got that defense rolling a little bit. So it became an issue of personnel, and it sounds, I don't know, it sounds like very much against the grain to pull a great player like Malcolm Butler off the field, but the issues with that defense were a heck of a lot more than 21 not being out there.
That team management, the coaching staff, Belichick, obviously at the lead, is never really worried about optics, right?
Oh, he didn't care about that.
Didn't care about optics. The now soon-to-be exiting defensive coordinator, I guess, also doesn't care about optics. Who's making that decision?
Oh, it's a Belichick call. Yeah, there's no way Matt Patricia is going to jump on the table and say, Bill, you can't do this. I think they were all on board. And I think part of the reason they get Butler out of there and have the safeties more involved is because Philadelphia has the ability to run the ball. And Butler is a good cover guy. He's a good tackler in terms of coverage like that. But one-on-one, like if LeGarrette Blount's running downhill against Malcolm Butler's diving at his legs and hoping that he falls down.
And how about Blount? What an irony. I mean, he ran the ball really pretty effectively on a number of occasions. He didn't get the dough he was looking for, right, from the Patriots?
He never got it from Philly either. He only got about $500,000 more. I mean, seriously. Well, but when you're in the NFL and LeGarrette Blount, at one point in time out of Oregon, was a dope-smoking, on-field punching lunatic. And now he's played 10 years in the NFL and has 3 Super Bowl rings. That's something. I mean, that guy in Oregon, he knocked the dude out on the sucker punch the D lineman, and then did the whole Pedro Martinez back away stuff, and pinched with the ganj in Pittsburgh and all that. And now 10 years and a couple of rings later, people are like, oh, LeGarrette Blount's got his place in Super Bowl history.
Right, so you don't think the Butler thing is this tragic decision?
It is an odd decision, and where I get on Belichick is in the fourth quarter. See, in the third quarter, Pat Chung got a ding to the head. It took the independent neurologist until really the fourth quarter to get him out of there. So Chung was playing out there with his running lights crossed. And then when they finally get him out of there, they go to Johnson Batamosi, who's a corner. If you were going to go down that far in the depth chart and put a corner in the game, especially around the goal line, that's where they should have put in Malcolm Butler. That's where it's like, okay, Bill, now you're just being stubborn to be stubborn. So taking him out, there were bigger issues along the way. But there were some crunch time plays where he went to the 5th corner on the roster.
So it has to be a flavor based on your discussion here. It had to be a flavor of personnel issue, like human problem as opposed to just strategic initiative.
I think Malcolm Butler after the game said they quit on me. And I think there was a part of this year where, again, to their trained eye, because you can really, I could sit there and spend 3 days and break it down and kind of figure it out. But I think a lot of it comes down to tackling. He would stray from the system every once in a while like Jamie Collins did, who they sent to Cleveland last year. But I think they lost faith in his ability to be a part of what they felt had to be a structured game plan.
All right, so...
Which needed to be just wiped away in the second half and then to start over anyway.
You can't have a Super Bowl press corps without questions about next year, seconds after the end of the game. We'll talk about next year because it's a full day. We're almost late. Stay with us. All right, welcome back in. I'm just happy I got Andy around because I know a little bit about this stuff like you do. I mean, are you following all this? It's hard. I mean, in terms of personnel and all that kind of thing. If it was the Giants, it'd be a different story for me. But anyway, the press corps is amazing. The trial of fire moving to the next season is almost embarrassing. I mean, everybody wants to know something, but the continuum of conversation and the lack of breath that the press takes, or the refusal to take a breath, and it is, I think it's offensive to the spectators.
Yeah. Dan, Bill Belichick has created this himself, okay? If you go all the way back to 2004, when Corey Dillon, the reason Corey Dillon was booted from the Patriots was because Corey Dillon called out Bill Belichick on the team plane for getting on guys for certain things. And as the story goes, from what I was told, Dillon challenged Belichick on something that was going on with one of his kids with the old wacky tobacco. Bill didn't like that, and next thing you know, Corey Dillon was pretty much gone. Well, my point is that when Dillon was hurt, he felt Belichick didn't put info out there that allowed people to question him. So because the wrong way around is saying because they're so secretive with everything, it breeds paranoia in the media to think, what am I missing? What am I not asking? How am I not connecting the dots? Because everything is so secretive with Belichick. If people felt he was a little more forthcoming with certain things, then he wouldn't get grilled like that.
All right, so he gets grilled, Gronk gets grilled, Brady gets grilled, and he just simply says, yeah, I want to be back. And the questions are you coming back, are you coming back, are you coming back? Brady, has already told everybody he wants to play till he was 45, so naturally he'd say, yeah, I hope to be back. I'd like to be back. What's going on with Gronk? I mean, obviously he's pretty beat up. What?
Contract, number one.
Well, he's got 2 years left.
Right, and I don't think he's going to walk away from what are dollars. I think what he would like is maybe a little more guarantees in there. Gronk came back at the end of the year and ended up notching, I think, $5.5 million in bonus money, but he's still singing for his supper when he's a guy who probably deserves a little more certainty in terms of the cashish that he's making, as much as he's saving all.
Well, he's making $10 or $11 million a year. It's not guaranteed.
Well, there's some of it in there that is, if you play X amount of games, get X amount of catches. There are certain things in NFL contracts that can be termed likely to be earned incentives and unlikely to be earned incentives, and it drives players crazy, and I think Gronk is one of them. Plus, if Belichick shockingly unplugs on us, or Brady says, hey, the best thing that happened to the TB12 brand was I was the MVP and we lost and I played great at 40, I'm done too. I think Gronk's leaving the door open to say, all right, if those guys go, then it's time for me to go as well.
Go
away. I think he could
quit, resign, retire.
I think he could hang it up. From what I understand, he has taken a former NBAer Jamal Mashburn approach to his money, where he's living off the endorsements and putting the game checks away. That's like how Jamal Mashburn built this gigantic fast food empire down in Kentucky, because the $100 million he made playing basketball he never touched. So I think Gronk is trying to do the same thing, where the football money's just going in the bank. He ain't that dumb.
Belichick guaranteed to come back?
I think so. I do. Because he's not going to walk away from the organization.
Even if Bob Kraft decides that he wants to step away from operations?
Now, then it's a little different. And then there's the relationship with Jonathan that gets thrown into play.
Which is different, right?
Which is different, no question. But it would be real bad form with all three coordinators leaving if the head coach unplugged at this late a date, because then you got to go through a hiring process and put together a staff.
Are all the coordinators leaving? Patricia is going to Detroit.
All of them, I think, are leaving.
And Josh is absolutely going to.
Josh is going to Indy, and I think
there's no screw up there.
I don't think so. I think Josh is bringing Joe Judge, the special teams coordinator, with him.
Is there a depth of coaching in the organization to replace those guys?
All of them, no. Does Bill have friends who want to come work for him? Absolutely. If he wanted to tomorrow, he could snap his fingers and have Greg Schiano, the former Rutgers coach, in as defensive coordinator. And if he wanted to get Charlie Weiss back as offensive coordinator, I'm sure he could say, Charlie, you only got to be on the field. You can sit your big butt up top and call your plays. He could. There's a lot of guys that go work for him.
Are they done for a while, or do they return and repeat?
Boy, it's a big off season. A lot of unknowns. I don't
just
think
as bad as the press that I've.
But I don't think I don't think it's fait accompli that they go back right away. But as long as 12's there driving the bus, you're good.
Thanks, brother.
All right.
On the radio, 6 to 9 on WPRO. Be right back. All right, kind of feels like back to business on the issues. Tomorrow we'll certainly take a look at what's happening with the memo, get some local reaction to that, and some difficult race relations in the city of Providence. No good. See you on the radio at 3 until 6 on WPRO tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Sleep well, Patriots Nation. There will be another season.